Nah, I should have done this a few seconds later. Oopsies. Okay. Put my phone over there so it won't be in my way. Okay. Spider-Man Homecoming was movie number 18. Some people put it before Doctor Strange, which sure, one could argue. I feel like the last three movies before Infinity War can be switched around, because technically speaking, Doctor Strange takes place like within a year. And it starts off February 2016, so it takes place before the events of Captain America Civil War, but it ends like way after the events of Civil War. And then Spider-Man Homecoming always confuses me because it takes place during September, but Civil War came out during May of 2016, so it's like, it's a whole thing. But I really like this movie a lot. Spider-Man has always been one of my favorite characters growing up, especially with the Sam Raimi movies. With the first three movies, that was like one of the first exposure I got to superheroes, and alongside with like the 1989 Batman, and then I didn't see Superman movies, and then the X-Men. So those were like superheroes, but like that I was exposed to as a kid. But Spider-Man always stuck to me, because sorry, I got a text message. Yeah, Spider-Man always stuck to me because I just thought his powers were so cool, and he could climb walls, and he could shoot webs, and spider sense, and everything, so I thought that's awesome. And so yeah, I grew up with the Tobey Maguire films, and I actually was a big fan of them. And I remember watching Spider-Man 3 with my niece a few months ago because I was scrolling on Netflix, wondering what to watch with her, and then she was like, "Oh, let's watch Spider-Man." And she was like 4 or 3. And I was like, I don't want to watch Spider-Man right now. I want to watch like a comedy movie. Let's watch Spider-Man. And I was like, all right, fine. So I put Spider-Man 3, and we saw the whole movie. And there's like one point where Spider-Man, he's like on the building, and then like Venom just like screams and like grabs him by the head and pulls him up. And like, if you've never seen the movie before, and if you see that scene for the first time, it'll be like, whoa, like did not see that coming. My niece was 4. She saw that scene for the first time, and I knew it was coming, and I didn't do anything. And so when it came up, I saw her get super scared, and she's like, "Ah!" She screamed, and it was the funniest thing ever. And then after that, she was like, "I got scared," and I was like, "I know, it was the funniest thing ever." Yeah, but whenever people ask me what my favorite Spider-Man is, I always say it's Tom Holland Spider-Man, and people get like so bothered. Oh, but Tobey Maguire, like he's the best, he's the OG, and I'm like, he is the OG, but he's not my favorite. Tom Holland really gets the character done. Tobey Maguire really gets Peter Parker right, like all of his problems. That's what I really liked about the original trilogy. Gets his problems down right. But then with this new Spider-Man, they don't really show his problems. He doesn't have that many problems because they're solved by Tony Stark, which like I know with this film they're trying to take it in a different direction, which was cool. I still liked this iteration of Spider-Man in a world of superheroes because that's what really makes Spider-Man stand out in the comics. He was kind of like, he lives like a day-to-day normal life. He goes to school, he goes to work, he has to pay bills, and like he could save the galaxy, and he'll go home, and like he's out of eggs and his milk is expired, and he's like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store. So that's just his day-to-day life, and shoot, I was going somewhere with this. Oh yeah, and his personality, his quips, he's always talking, he does not shut up. That's his thing. That is his thing in comics. And I feel like in the original trilogy, that didn't happen that often. He would make a few quips, but like they weren't Spidey quips. I saw this text post was like, why is Spider-Man so great at coming up with jokes on the spot? It's because with great power comes great response ability. I saw that was hilarious. That's not relevant, but I just wanted to say it. Well, I know with this movie with Homecoming, once again they wanted to do their own version of it. They wanted to do their own take on a different take on Spider-Man, so they didn't do the Uncle Ben origin story, which I totally get. I get it. Trust me, I get it. You know, everyone knows the story. Everyone that's familiar with comics knows the story. They've seen it 2 times already. In recent, like the last time they saw the Uncle Ben origin story was like 8 years ago, and you know when that's what would have been 4 years ago in 2016 when he was first introduced, and then like 5 years after he got a solo movie. It's it's everyone knows the story. Only problem though, my mom doesn't know the story, so like that's his like the Uncle Ben origin story is like one of the main reasons why I am so fond of the character, because that's when we learn the lesson: with great power there must also come great responsibility, and that just makes, to me, that's what makes Spider-Man to me like a really great, interesting character, because he has to help people, because if not, he's just reminded of Uncle Ben, and so that's what, to me, that's why I'm one of the reasons why I like the character so much. And I was really hoping that my mom would have seen that in Homecoming, but then like when I was watching the movie, I realized that's not really brought to light in Homecoming. It's not really focused on as much, which sucks. I got text. Which sucks because I really wanted to like these characters the way I like them, and she likes Spider-Man sort of, but she doesn't see why I like him. She doesn't get it. So that kind of sucks. Hold on. So yeah, shoot, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that kind of sucks about, that's like the one thing that sucks about the movie, is that the origin story is key. It's key to him. I just feel like I wish they could have brought it to light a bit more. Not even like dedicate like 10 minutes to it. Maybe just bring it up every once in a while, or like have like a mind flashback. Just something to emphasize the with great power there must also come great responsibility. But I really do like his personality, because Peter Parker is like nerdy. He's like always trying to like come up with lines on his feet. He's quirky sort of, and Spider-Man is like confident, or sort of. Well, he's a bit more confident than Peter Parker. And what I thought was cool was like throughout the film, you get to see Spider-Man for Peter Parker is like something he does for fun. He knows there's a certain responsibility there to it, but at the end of the day, he does it for fun and because he enjoys it. You can tell at the beginning of the movie where he's super anxious to get in, to become Spider-Man, and like you see him like going through Spider-Man movements, things, and he's helping people out, and he's having so much fun, and he wants to be an Avenger because that's like, I don't know how it would be like. I don't know what it'd be like to compare it to. I guess people like sports, right? I think people, yeah. So sorry. Sorry. Gonna put my phone and watch on do not disturb mode. I'm so sorry. So let's compare Peter Parker to some kid playing soccer, right? That kid likes playing soccer for fun, and like they love soccer. And once again, side note, I don't know anything about sports and how like leagues work. I know like probably a little, like less than the basic. Oh yeah, so kid likes playing soccer and he does it for fun, like maybe every day, and like he aspires to be like a famous soccer player, that's all he can think about. And then like let's say I feel like to be a famous soccer player, it takes up a lot of work because you have to train constantly, and there's like a diet and some stuff to it, and it comes with a lot of responsibility, and you have to work with other teammates. So, but the soccer player doesn't know that or doesn't focus on that too much. He just wants the title and he just wants the admiration and all that. I feel like that's how Peter Parker is in terms of with Spider-Man and the Avengers, you know? And once the kid kind of sees, the soccer player sees all the other stuff the professional has to do to be a professional, he's just kind of like, whoa, I have to step my game or I have to take things more seriously. I feel like that's how Spider-Man was. Because you see him at the beginning in school with the Blitzkrieg Pop by the Ramones playing, and then you kind of see him at Liz's party, and he's kind of like, oh, like, I can't, this isn't a party trick, you know, he sets his foot down, like, this isn't a party trick, this isn't something I can just, you know, throw around, you know, and then he sees the Vulture's crew there, he finds them, and he, like, goes, and he confronts them, and he's like, yeah, this is what Spider-Man is, and then, like, at the very end, well, near the very end, when, he's given a choice to go to homecoming with Liz or to stop Adrian Toomes, and you know, he really wants to go to the dance with Liz because he like really likes her, you know, and that's when he realizes like this is not like as fun as it should be, you know, like there are some serious stakes involved, and I feel like that's when he kind of realizes, and that's when he kind of realizes that he doesn't want to be an Avenger yet. And he just wants to practice a bit more, you know. So yeah, I really like that. I thought that was really cool, and I was like, all right, cool. Like he's gonna have his homemade suit for like a while, but then he gets like a suit. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I was like, it's like, you know, like he deserves it. You know, he proved himself, and I will be honest, I did tear up. Did I cry? I don't remember. These Marvel movies get me in my emotions so much where I don't know if I actually either did cry or just teared up a little bit. I know for Infinity War and Endgame, I can confirm I cried a lot. But for all the other movies, I know I've teared up. Homecoming, definitely for sure. Probably teared up when, I know for sure, when the building fell on him and he was like crunching. I was like, no. I knew he was going to get out, but I was like, no. Yeah. Okay, so another thing, I really like. I'll talk about Mysterio later. I know a lot of people were complaining about some of the villains being inspired by Tony Stark and how they didn't like that, and I get it. But I feel like sometimes it makes sense. Zemo was an Avengers villain. He was inspired by the Avengers, he was inspired by the Avengers. Who's next, actually? Look at all the villains. Age of Ultron. That one kind of makes sense. It has to be Tony Stark. I know Hank Pym creates him in the comics, but that one makes sense. Zemo was an Avengers villain. Homecoming, that was a Tony Stark inspired villain. The way they made it sound like kind of made sense, but like at the same time it really could have been just like a general villain. Like I really liked how the Vulture, like they eat scraps. So I really like how with this version they made him like kind of eat, like get the scraps of like all the other battles, and I thought that was really cool and really impressive, which is something I've always wondered about in 2012 when I saw the first Avengers movie. I remember after watching the first Avengers movie, like seeing all of New York like covered in alien bodies. I remember I turned to my brother, I think he was sitting to me on my left, and I was like, man, imagine being a janitor during those times. That must suck. And I wondered, who cleans up the messes? And then like Agents of Shield, like, oh yeah, Shield cleans it up, and I was like, okay, but like, where does it all go? You know, and then there was Hydra, and then it was like Department of Damage Control, and then it was like city contractors. So like, I kind of wish they could focus on that a bit more. And I'm really curious about like, how are insurance companies taking this? You know, like how does the price of like a house increase or decrease depending on whether there's been a battle there or within like a battle's been like happened like a few miles from there, or like whether how far it is from the Avengers Tower or other things like that. I've always wondered about stuff like that, like like home insurance, life insurance, auto insurance. Like do they cover certain battles or like and like lawsuits, and taxes. I really want to know how all that stuff works. It's so irrelevant to the story, but it makes everything feel a lot more realistic, and I feel like it adds more stakes to everything else. And how are people accustomed to this? Because we always see the heroes, we never see the people and how they're like, whoa, like there's another superhero battle. Oh, I'll just take another like the longer way around, or like they see Iron Man like shooting aliens. It's like, oh well, like I only have to go to like my wedding rehearsal. It's no big deal. So I really care about stuff like that. It's so irrelevant. And after the snap of Infinity War, and after the snap of Endgame, how, And I feel like Homecoming, like touches on that. Like I feel like very, very, very little, with the Vulture's crew like stealing scraps from Department of Damage Control, and shoot, I had more. Oh yeah, and then just kind of like showing. Sorry. Showing that there are people out there buying all these weapons, and I'm really curious to know why haven't we heard from them? We probably haven't heard from them because they haven't been like a big of a threat to be on noticeable on like the Avengers radar. And there was an Avengers Infinity War comic prelude. It was a prelude comic where it shows where like what each hero was kind of up to in that moment. And Captain America, Black Widow, and the Falcon were all like secret Avengers, and they were all still avenging. Well, they were all still like fighting terrorists, and they would stop terrorists from like they would stop shipments of It was really cool. It was a really interesting Homecoming tie-in, which I feel like they should like it should be brought up in the movies. Like it's so interesting and cool. Sorry. Oh yeah. So so Cap. Well, I don't like when people refer to him as Cap in Infinity War because he's technically not Cap. So Steve Rogers, so Rogers, Natasha, and Wilson were all secret Avengers, and they were preventing terrorists from like sending out shipments of like alien weapons, which was like the weapons that they bought off of the Vulture's crew. And I just thought it was interesting, cool, really, how Spider-Man stops the king. He stops the seller, and like all of the people who have bought weapons from that, like Rogers and his team kind of stopped that too. So it's like, so it's a nice spell. It ends with a nice spell. Yeah. So that was nice. I thought that was cool. Homemade suit. I think I brought up how like that was cool. He had his own homemade suit, and he's able to prove his worth, which I feel like that's Spider-Man to his core. It's I've always in the comics I've read like several of his comics, and I've always thought it was so cool whenever he runs out of web fluid and he has to think up of stuff on like the spot. And I like whenever he runs out of web fluid, I'm like, dude, like that's like, oh sorry. I mean, why did I say sorry to you? I'm sorry. Wait, no. So yeah, he runs out of web fluid, and I'm reading the comics. I'm like, dude, like, what are you gonna do? That's like your main. Sorry, don't. I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do? That's like your main thing. Like you can't do anything without web fluid. And then Spider-Man goes and he makes this like weird thing, and like he stops the villain with the weird thing he made, and he's like, I saved the day. Sorry, I mean, he's like, I saved the day without any web fluid. I can do whatever I can because I'm resourceful. He doesn't say that, but that's what I like, capture. So, for him to just not have anything at all makes him really interesting. And in Far From Home, when he runs out of web fluid, I'm like, things are about to get good. So I really like that. So not about my mom, because I've been talking for about 20 minutes, and I could probably go on for another hour, but we're going to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. She really liked the movie, although during the movie, while we were watching it, she was like, oh man, Spider-Man talks so much, it's so annoying, like, can he just shut up? He was like, oh hey, that's kind of like you. And I was like, Mom, what the hell? So yeah, not only has my mom said I might be adopted, but that I'm also annoying. Um, she was saying how like she was really surprised how stubborn like a teenager could be, or like how stubborn someone so young could be, and in terms of like he knows he's good, but like also she thought that like in the future he's going to be like a really great hero because for someone so young he's like really intelligent and he's like really good at what he does, and what he does is nice. I don't know if a lot of people get that reference. He's really good at what he does. He created his own web fluid, so I kind of had to explain that to her. I'm like, yeah, he created his own web fluid and he sticks to the walls because like that's his own skin. I don't know how it goes through his shoes, but I'm not gonna think about it too much. And she's like, oh, that's really impressive. I'm like, yeah, it's super cool of him, and yeah, she actually didn't really say much about it, which kind of sucks because I was really hoping she would have, but that's all she really said. I told her more about the Civil War comics because she said out of all of the movies, that's the one she doesn't like because they almost kill each other. Well, they can't kill each other, and so she was like, "Yeah, like I don't like Civil War," and I was like, "Oh, well, in the comics, like heroes actually do die, you know." And I told her about Spider-Man being on Team Iron Man, the movie, the Team Cap, and she was like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "I know." And then I told her about like how in the comics Captain America like surrenders and he gives up to Tony, and she was like, "No, he doesn't." And I was like, "Mom, I've read the comics. Of course he does." Um. So yeah. Also, another thing, which I probably should have brought this up earlier, but I didn't. In Far From Home, his birthday is like August 10th, 2001, and I my dad's birthday is also August 10th, but it's not 2001, because then there would be time travel. My dad's birthday is also on August 10th, and the only reason I know his birthday is on August 10th is because of this comic book. The first appearance of Spider-Man, August 10th, 1962. My dad's birthday is August 10th, 1959. So my dad is 3 years older than Spider-Man. None of this is relevant. I just really wanted to bring out my own copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man, and that's it. It's not the original, because oh my god, if I did have the original, I don't know if I'd be showing it off or just not showing it off at all. Oh, that'd be nice. No, but this is a copy. I've read it. It's awesome. Okay, that's it. My video's done. I'm gonna go watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. Goodbye. Take care. Stay awesome. Yeah.